Hi, beautiful ladies. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Sarah and a relationship coach. And you can see me and hear me fine. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm just going to check if I'm live and then we'll get started right away. If you're joining me right now, just let me know in the comments from where are you joining me, and also let me know what would you like to gain today from this masterclass. Just let me know in the comments whenever you're ready. Just gonna wait a few more moments. Hi there from London. You're welcome. So excited to have you here today. Welcome. So if you're with me today, joining me live, or you're gonna watch this later as a replay, let me know from where are you joining me. And yeah, and I'm gonna share my screen. I'm sure people will be joining as we go through this, but for now, we're just gonna get started anyways. Okay. So, let me know from where are you joining me. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me fine, if you can see me fine, and if you can see the slides as well. I'm very, very excited to be here. This masterclass will be full of healing, full of growth. It's time to let go of people-pleasing behaviors, time to let go of codependency and abandonment wounds. And this masterclass will include everything you need today. If you're here with me today, let me know you're joining me, and if you have any of my master classes before. So just to let you know a bit about myself, my name is Sama. I'm a therapist, a relationship coach, and an inner child coach. And I would say for almost the majority of my life, I struggled with people-pleasing behaviors. I was taken advantage of. I didn't have any self-worth or self-esteem. I started off being a parent pleaser, and then I moved into high school and I started, struggling with the traumas I had as I had a wounded inner child. And in high school, I realized, I agreed with everything. I did everything, my group wanted me to do just to fit in. As I moved, into adulthood and starting to date and getting into serious relationships, all I attracted was relationships. I used to settle for less. I didn't know my worth. And it was all about the other people and never about me. And I thought I was doing, in reality, I was settling and losing myself. I reached a point in my life where I actually lost myself. I didn't know who I was. I struggled with even looking at myself in the mirror because I reached a point where I hated myself and it was all about validations from others. And I struggled not just in relationships, but also in friendships, at my work. Everything around me it was like living in a cage, to be honest with you ladies. Today, it's all about, honesty. It's all about me supporting you heal. And living in a cage where I didn't know who I was anymore. And it was one night where I said enough is enough, and I started healing, and I learned about boundaries, standards, self-love, self-worth, confidence, relationships, friendships, and everything I needed to truly heal, ladies. Can you relate to this? Can anyone relate to this? And today is the day where we're all gonna talk about how you can heal, because you're not alone. You're not alone, and whatever your reason is and why you're joining me today, I want you to know you're not alone and you're in good hands. However, I want to ask you all for a favor. This group is completely private. No one outside of this group will read your comments. And I want you to give yourself the gift of being present in the here and now. The gift of being able to learn, the gift to be fully present. You could be listening to this and cooking, you could be listening to this and cleaning, getting ready for work, but you need to give this your full attention, because the information I have inside this masterclass you will never find else. And I truly mean that. I'm not just providing you information, but I want you to be aware, and I'm going to provide you with tools and skills to move forward. So give yourself the gift of presence. I know if you're struggling with people-pleasing behaviors, most likely it's all about others and everyone around you. But today is the day you're going to give yourself the gift of being present. Who is ready to give themselves being present in the now? Comment below. Claim it. Sharing is healing. Sharing is releasing. Time to connect. I want to invite you all to comment, to relate, to share, to be able to share everything and anything, because I will be reading all your comments and I will be there to support you. Even if I don't read it now, I'm going to read it after the class. Who is ready to be present with me? Just type yes, me, whatever you want to type below. Leave some comments below. Now it's time to know more about you, ladies. All right, I see some yeses. I like that. I love this. I love this. I love the energy in here, and I'm going to guide you through your healing today. So, ladies, hello from New Zealand. Yes, I'm ready for that. Welcome. Yes, I see another yes. Welcome, ladies. So happy to have you all here today. So, in the comments now, ladies, let me know, why did you join me today? Are you number one, you feel like you have lost yourself trying to make everyone around you happy? Or are you number two? Leave some comments below. You feel, you always worry about what others think about you, and you struggle with anxiety and worries every day. It's like you live in a cage. Or maybe you're number three. You feel like your people-pleasing behaviors making you settle in friendships or relationships. You feel like you're being taken advantage of. Or maybe you're number four. You don't feel happy and complete in your intimate relationships. It's like you're settling, or maybe you're ruining a healthy relationship because of your people-pleasing behaviors. Let me know in the comments. Which one are you? I lost myself post breakup. Does that count? Absolutely. Of course. Of course. That's one of the reasons, one of the traumas that we lose ourselves when we go through a breakup. Completely valid. I feel like 1, 2, and 3. On, and you're in safe hands. 3 and 2. Okay. I see a lot of people are struggling with 2 and someone, others, all of them. What about others? Anyone else want to share with me? I used to struggle with all of the above. Like I said, no one outside of group will read your comments. You're completely, your privacy is protected, so don't worry. And sharing is healing. So yeah, I used to be all of the above. And I'm not ashamed of this, because this is when you know there's something that needs healing. Without awareness, we can't heal. So, ladies, let me know in the comments. When you think about people-pleasing behaviors and, or codependency ones, what comes to your mind? What does it feel like to live with people-pleasing behaviors? Let me know in the comments. Usually, people-pleasing behaviors can be a way to influence others in order to win approval, acceptance, safety, stability, and love. It's like a way of not just us wanting to feel good, but also to control the other person to feel we're able to win their approval. And people pleaser, like how I used to be, don't like any type of conflict or emotional discomfort. We try to avoid this at all costs, usually at a high cost, which can cause us to lose self-esteem, and it can affect our psychological health. Let me know in the comments, what does it feel like to live with codependency and people-pleasing behaviors, or people-pleasing? No, I don't want to call it behaviors. I want to call it trauma, because it's actually a traumatic response. I don't know if you knew this before, but behaviors considered to be a trauma. Let's talk more about people-pleasing behaviors. Feel free to let me know in the comments, what does it feel like to live with people-pleasing behaviors? And when we talk about people-pleasing, we're usually talking about the traumas, ladies. There's a lot of traumas that can affect you. It's not just, we decide to be that way. There is underlying trauma. Individuals who respond to trauma with people-pleasing behaviors tend to usually seek safety by emerging the wishes, the needs, and demands of others. So basically, people-pleasing trauma is there because you're safe. You want to feel like you're worthy. You want to feel validated. You want to feel loved. Someone did in a child. But this means that a person will do whatever they can to avoid conflict, including abandoning their own needs, agreeing with the abuser or the toxic person, and going outside of their way to receive approval or avoid, abusers. You may experience a high level of shame or because you believe the only way to receive love, it has to be conditional. It has to be conditioned to what you do, conditional towards what others expect you to do, and that's where we settle. Does it make sense, ladies? Let me know in the comments if this is making sense to you and if you can relate to this. Who struggles with toxic shame and false guilt? Have you heard about this before? If you haven't, leave some comments so I can explain this further. We usually abandon our own needs, and we usually agree with people around us. And it's all because we want to receive something external, because we don't have a sense of self. We don't trust ourselves. It's easier for us to seek something outside of ourselves. Does it make sense, ladies? Let me know in the comments. Let's continue. Let me make it a bit smaller so I can. Okay, that's perfect. Let's continue, ladies. I can see some yeses. Amazing. Have you ever thought about how we become people pleasers? Let me know in the comments. Great question. What's false guilt? So false guilt is when you feel guilty for others just because they want you to do something, just because, you said no to them because they expected you. Let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say at work, you're finished for the day, but your manager asked you to do one more thing. And you can't say no because you feel guilty. You shouldn't feel guilty because you finished work. So this is what we call false guilt. It's trauma-driven guilt over or to get their approval for. At the same time, it really affects your mental health and your psychological health. Does that make sense? Ladies, have you ever thought about how we become people pleasers? Let me know in the comments. So many of our behaviors, you're very welcome. Anyone can ask anything and everything. That's why I'm here. I'm here to support you today. So how do we become people pleasers? Have you ever thought about this, ladies, before? So many of us, or many of our behaviors, are actually learned from family systems of our childhood. And healthy family systems tends to be closed and rigid, showing unspoken rules about how family members should interact with each other. And it usually also, and how we interact with each other and also the world around us. So we have these rules where we are controlled by them due to our childhood and how our parents expected us to be. Some, for them, it's unacceptable to say no to someone, like your parents expected you to always say yes and never say no. I used to struggle with this. What about you, ladies? Did you struggle with saying, was it a struggle for you to say no to your parents as a child? Some of us, we weren't allowed to openly disagree or make choices based on our needs. Rather, we always base it on the needs of others. And like I mentioned at the class, people pleasers, they start off being parent pleasers. Who is a parent pleaser here today, or used to be? Let me know in the comments. Who is a parent pleaser, or used to be a parent pleaser? Let me know in the comments. So you notice parents pleasers usually try or attempt to manipulate emotionally unavailable parents into loving and accepting them. For example, the daughter of a depressed mother may have to give up significant amount of emotional energy to caring for her parents, rather than the parents being able to care for her. Okay, I used to be, came from an abusive family, yes. I know how it feels, and I know how difficult it is. It can also influence your relationships. We don't just let go of what happens in childhood. What happens in childhood has the ability to stay with us. It doesn't go away by itself. And in most cases, you notice you can become a people pleaser in your relationship because it's learned and we can use it on a subconscious level as a coping mechanism. Ladies, the act of being her mother's caregiver, she receives attention and approval. And if you're a people pleaser or struggling with people pleasing trauma, most likely all you want to receive is attention and approval. Only by being a good girl or, doing whatever your parents want you to do, they can show you love and acceptance. Who you struggle with this? And how does it affect you until today? Have you ever thought about how does this affect me until today? Let me know in the comments. If it makes sense to you. So parenting emotional inconsistency is what causes people pleasing, codependency, and abandonment once. The child not knowing how else to feel secure and maintain love and connection does all she can to earn the parents' approval. So the inconsistency, whether you had a healthy family or your family was toxic, you realize if there was inconsistency or your parents were moody, that affects you into being a people pleaser and adopting what makes them happy to win the approval from them. Feel free to write this down. This is one of the main reasons. Does it make sense, ladies? Let me know in the comments. So I don't know if you know this. Sometimes even if you didn't, grow up in a toxic family, the trouble is the parents' behavior generally has less to do with the child or with you as a child and more of what's going on for the parents in their life. So in order to have some sense of control, the child will locate the cause of their parents' happiness and unhappiness firmly within themselves. So they take it personally, whether it's healthy environment, whether it's toxic environment. As a child, you will take this personally. It's like sometimes your parents, they're dealing with grief, maybe they're dealing with other things in their lives, and you could learn to become a people pleaser just trying to see what makes your parents happy and unhappy. And then you, as the child, will carry this set of standards into your relationships, seeking to please people, settling in relationships, attracting the wrong relationships, maybe ruining healthy relationships, so you can be happy too. And in most cases, we try so hard to make our partner happy. We become the givers in the relationships and we lose our identity all over and over again. Can you relate to this, ladies? And what do you relate to? Whether your family was toxic or not, what do you mostly relate to? Let me know in the comments. And feel free to write this down. So this is the part of what confuses people pleasers. They usually maybe have memories of warmth and connection with their parents. Some of us may not have any, connection or warmth to the memories they had with their parents. But so let's say if you had warmth and connection to your parents, and warmth and connection to your parents, how could the relationship with the same parents also cause you people-pleasing behaviors? Have you ever thought about this? How could this same relationship cause you to be a people-pleaser? So here's the thing. So one moment, your parents can be affectionate and loving. The next you realize their distance and absence and worried. This can confuse you as a child, and it can cause you to have a wounded inner child. And all of this is happening on a subconscious level. It's like this is where you start being on edge, living on eggshells. You don't know how your parents will react. If the same parent is giving you love, how can they be so distant the next moment? This is when you start losing yourself. Does it make sense, ladies? Let me know in the comments. Of course, it's not all childhood. Sometimes, we can develop people-pleasing behaviors due to going through many toxic, traumatic events, including going through a bad breakup, having many toxic relationships, being bullied in high school, not, losing a job, not being included within your friends, and, all of this, any type of trauma that's repeated over time can cause you to have people-pleasing traumas. Does it make sense? Sometimes it's not all about childhood. Let me know in the comments if that's making sense. Yes, see some yeses. Who started to have their traumas due to a breakup? Or are we all because, we struggled in childhood? Let me know in the comments. Was it due to childhood, or was it more due to later events in life? A bit of both. You're not alone. What about other? Let me know in the comments. Me too. It was like a bit of both, to be honest with you all. Childhood, high school, and also relationships. Childhood, and later events. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. You're not alone. I can completely relate to all of you, honestly. And what do you notice usually? If you're a people pleaser, you also struggle with low self-esteem, overachievement, need for control, because if you're not in control, that's a threat to you. Type A personality style, perfectionism. Okay, I can read some comments. Childhood, high school, and some relationships. Yes, me too. I can completely relate to all of you. Who has some of the traits that I just mentioned? Who struggles with, and which traits do you struggle with? I used to struggle with overachievement, low self-esteem. I always changed myself to be in control and to be liked, and perfectionism. That's what I used to struggle with. What about you, ladies? Let me know in the comments. I do mostly with control. Yes, so you can feel safe. I used to struggle with the same. Control, perfectionism, low self-esteem. Me too. Okay, I have all of them. I think overachievement and perfectionism in order to gain approval or feel worthy. Correct. That's exactly right. I used to struggle with the same. And low self-worth. What about others? Thank you all for sharing. This is a coping mechanism. So let's talk about as a trauma response, because codependency and people-pleasing traumas are actually coping mechanisms. Did you know that? Let me know in the comments. So let's be honest, ladies. Let's talk more in depth. So the people-pleasing trauma connection. How do we get to a place where revealing our true self is so terrifying? Where we're so scared of rejection and abandonment that we're willing to completely betray ourselves. How do we get there, ladies? Let me know in the comments. What do you think is happening to us? How do we get to a place where we're so scared of rejection and abandonment every single day? Where revealing our true self and authentic self is so terrifying. How do we get to this place where, it hurts more than physical injuries? How do we get to this place? Reliving our childhood and past relationships, yes, that's part of it. What about this, ladies? So let's talk about the people-pleasing trauma connection. As you know, people-pleasing and codependency are trauma responses. Have you heard about big trauma and big T trauma and small t trauma before? Let me know in the comments if you have heard about this before. So, when we talk about the big T traumas are usually obvious and widely acknowledged as traumatic. Little t trauma is usually smaller trauma that happens more frequently over a long period of time. And usually, keep this in mind, when we become people pleasers is because of the little t trauma, because this trauma is happening over a long period of time. Let's say in childhood, 1 minute your parents are nice, happy, friendly, then the next minute they're angry. This is when you start developing this trauma, going sometimes through a breakup. It can, take its phases on you. You go through grief, you go through anger, and it really happens due to multiple events. And many people think, it's usually just childhood, or some may not think it's because of childhood, but it's been, happens over a long period of time. And of course, trauma is subjective. What one person finds traumatizing might not be traumatizing to someone else. Correct, it's the complex trauma due to multiple traumatic events. That is exactly right. Okay, so I can see a comment, because we feel that being ourselves is not good enough or worthy enough. That's exactly right, because we don't feel worthy enough. So we try not to be our authentic self. Of course, life has its ups and downs, and sometimes we don't notice how life has its ups and downs. And then we notice, we reach a point where we don't know our values, we don't know our values, we don't know our standards, and we feel lost in life. And a lot of people can be people about it even. So let's talk more about trauma and people pleasing. How is everyone doing so far? Are you all good? Are you all taking notes? Are you all excited to be here? Let me know in the comments. So trauma usually happens or occurs when we feel as our survival is being threatened. In childhood, we're 100% dependent upon our parents for survival. And you notice if there's a lack of affection and approval by the caregiver, we will consider this as a threat to our survival. And many of us can maybe have been living in survival mode for their whole life. I used to live in this, in survival mode since I was a little girl. I was always tense. I was always like this. Like everything was so terrifying to me. What about you, ladies? Like I mentioned, sometimes it has nothing to do with your parents. Sometimes just your parents going through a lot. Sometimes your parents can be abusive. Sometimes it can be high school. Sometimes it can be, relationships. Comments. Who else is living in survival now? Who's living in survival? Let me know in the comments. And when we talk about survival, go through a traumatic event. And when you go through a traumatic event, your brain is trying to protect you. So it creates that mental block where you don't remember the memory, maybe you try to ignore the memory, but yet your body hasn't processed the trauma. So the trauma gets stored or into your body, and that's when you live in survival. Does it make sense? And yes, this is exactly what I mean. So basically you're living in survival because you're so worried that you're so worried that your partner would leave. You're afraid of him being annoyed or having conflict. You worry about being abandoned. This is you most likely living in survival. It makes complete sense. Okay, I'm glad, ladies, you're getting knowledge and understanding how people pleasing is a traumatic response. Have you ever heard about the fawn response before? Let me know in the comments. Have you heard about the fawn response? So when people pleasing comes about as a result of early trauma, we usually call it the fawn response. Maybe most of you have heard about the fight, freeze, or fight response. And this is when your body tries to protect you, but when you experience trauma, you go into survival because your brain is trying to protect you, but then your body hasn't processed the trauma and you're always on edge and you see everything as a threat. The fawn response is when we have learned that being assertive and being authentic is a dangerous thing to do. So we have learned that being authentic and assertive is a dangerous thing. And when trauma happens, we respond as we haven't processed the trauma. We're really stuck. Many of you come to me and say, Summer, I feel stuck. And I'm like, how are you stuck? Let's discuss this. This is where you feel stuck in life. This is when your trauma has been stored within your body. Does it make sense, ladies? And that's everything threat to us. This is exactly what's happening. We are afraid to be ourselves out of fear of abandonment issues. Correct. Because you think people will leave you if they knew the real you. Even in relationships, you're always on edge trying to make your partner happy, and most likely maybe you're attracting the wrong relationships to start with. So let's talk about how do you know if you're a people pleaser. I want everyone to engage with me, whether you're watching this live or later as a replay. Let's heal together. Let's talk. Let's go in depth and talk more about how do I know if I'm a people pleaser and how does it affect my relationships. So if you have people pleasing trauma, most likely you have low self-esteem or poor self-image. So basically, the urge or desire to please others stems from a need to be validated. A people pleaser usually feels this sense of worth can be strengthened. They must be approved. So they depend on every compliment to rely or to support their already low self-esteem. Does it make sense how we rely on every validation we can get to feel good about ourselves? Traits of a people pleasers are wired towards getting the necessary attention to increase their self-esteem. When that validation is not available, they fall into a sad or even depressive phase, sponsored by the idea they are not needed. So they worry about not being needed. And we see many women in relationships who are people pleasers. They try to be the giver. They try to do everything and anything to make their partner happy. They work with an abuser. They settle. They try harder. And even if they're in a healthy relationship and their partner is healthy, they always worry every morning that their partner wouldn't need them. So they try to find, high-paying jobs. They try to give gifts. They try to make dinner maybe every night. They live for others, basically, or they live for their partner, or they live for their friends, or they live for their job, or they let me know in the comments. You can settle in a relationship, you can attract a narcissistic relationship, or you can run away from a healthy relationship before you think they can abandon you. So you run away from healthy relationships. Or maybe you avoid relationships as a whole. So I have a comment right here. Well, being a people pleaser is like you try to enjoy to please them, even if it's not exactly what you like to do. You just do it so they like you more. And in reality, they may not like you more. Maybe they feel for them. Maybe they feel like they can't be authentic with you. Maybe they want you to do. Or maybe they want you to do this. Or in some relationships, some women settle with someone who's a narcissist and they do everything and anything to make the relationship work. Does that make sense, ladies? Let me know in the comments. And also you notice you have a constant need for validations. As a result of a poor sense of self-worth, people pleasers have to depend on the opinions of others to feel good about themselves. It's like the opinion of others or your partner has more value than what you think about yourself. And if and the need for the validation is a response to the absence of the lack of self-worth and poor self-esteem that we have from within. It's like we're losing ourselves in relationships every single day. Does that make sense, ladies? Let me know in the comments. You do this because you have a lack of self-worth and self-esteem from within. Can you relate to this? Let me know in the comments. And most people pleasers go as far as breaking their principle and going against their personal beliefs to fit or to be accepted. Adjust your personality. I used to struggle with this. I used to adjust my personality to fit my partners or exes. I used to, adjust my personality to fit my friendships, my work environment, and I didn't know who I was. Can you relate to this, ladies? Let me know in the comments. What do you relate to the most? Boundaries. You realize someone who is or struggling with people-pleasing behaviors has a lack of boundaries. Boundaries are decisions and life principles that we live by. They're like walls to protect us and prevent us from being easily influenced by external factors or external. Who is struggling with boundaries? Let me know in the comments. Due to the internal need for validations, we feel like standing up for ourselves might create conflict, allowing others to have their way. It's like the fear of being rejected or not treated the same or treated differently. And this one used to be a big one for me. Apologizing for things that I wasn't responsible for. Do you tend to apologize for things you're not responsible for? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you struggle with, always saying sorry for things that might be outside of your control. It was a big one for me. I used to honestly struggle with this the whole time, honestly. So due to the habit of saying sorry when things do not go as planned, often we fail to recognize that's a sign of people pleasing, and we take responsibility for things that are outside of our control. And it's like beyond our control, but when things fail or go south, we begin to think we have a lot to do with this. It's like you're responsible for people's actions and feelings. In relationships, sometimes when your partner is struggling or going through a difficult phase, you think it has a lot to do with you, but in reality this has nothing to do with you. Of course you can be there, show empathy, but it's not your fault. Imagine being in a relationship and just saying sorry the whole time. You can be a magnet to toxic relationships or even ruin healthy relationships. Who tends to say sorry the whole time? Let me know in the comments. And also you agree with everything or everyone. Since we struggle with our self-esteem and our self-worth, it means we find it hard to value our own perspective of life. We fear the reality of being confronted or disagreed with, which takes places in mental position that makes us remember the opinion of others has more value than our own opinions. Who agrees with everything? Let me know in the comments. I can see I do. What about others? Do you agree with everyone and everything? And why do you do it? Let me know in the comments. It's like living in a cage. You become influenced to think, do, or say things that they may not be comfortable because simply you don't have the guts to repel against others or stand up for yourself because you don't feel worthy of that. And that's the main issue. You don't feel worthy. You have a wounded inner child. You don't have boundaries. You're not assertive. And who struggles with saying no? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you struggle with saying no. So people pleasers have a problem with the word no. You know, they have a problem with the word no. They can't say it. Most people pleasers were raised in an environment or homes that was like a wall zone, and therefore their mind sees conflict as a state, as a threat. So we see conflict as a threat. And you hear statements like, I want peace, I don't want any trouble, I don't want any conflict. And usually these sentences or words you will hear from a people pleaser. Who says these sentences? Let me know in the comments. Who usually, tells their partner or their friends or their family, I don't want any conflict, I don't want any trouble, I just want peace, I struggle. What about others? Do you usually say this? Because this is what a people pleaser does. Happens in your relationships. You struggle to express your feelings. Your needs are not met. You build resentments. That fear and the lack of inner peace and confidence, will drive a people pleaser to seek validations from external factors. Most people pleasers agree to do or say things that they don't like just because they're afraid of conflict, or they're really afraid of conflicts. They're afraid of disagreeing, even if you don't feel, even if you don't like what's being said or done around you. You agree under the excuse of letting things roll off your back. And you don't want trouble. You don't want drama. And you hear this a lot because we use this as a trauma response. Does that make sense, ladies? Let me know in the comments. And of course, you see people who struggle with people-pleasing traumas have anxiety and mental health challenges. They usually look down on themselves. I used to look down on myself. I used to criticize everything about me, from the things I used to wear to the little mistakes I made. And it really resentments and hatreds and anger. And you notice your wounded inner child can go against you and can feel like, they don't want to connect with you. And especially if you have been looking down on yourself. And then you realize you have mental breakdowns and you cry and you can't explain why you're crying. Can you relate to this, ladies? And sometimes you realize you don't talk about your feelings. People who struggle with people-pleasing behaviors don't like to talk about their feelings. People pleasers are extremely sensitive and they have difficulty expressing themselves. They fear that they would be, others will mock them or misunderstood them. And instead of saying what they think, they keep it quiet, but it really hurts them from inside. it's like you will avoid anything or everything in order not to have that conversation about expressing your feelings and what makes you sad in relationships. Do you do this, ladies, in your relationships? Do you avoid talking about things? Let me know in the comments. It's usually because it's difficult for us. If you struggle with people pleasing behaviors, it's difficult to feel appreciated, loved, and valued. And you think or believe by expressing yourself, it's really not worthy of a cause. No one will care. And then it really pushes your partner away. You run into the risk of having resentment triggers, and it can ruin your relationship. And you can build anger. And of course, when we have people pleasing behaviors, we struggle with insecurity and perfectionism tendency. It's like due to our trauma and negative experiences, we develop, people pleasing behaviors us to be, or will lead us to have perfectionism and insecurity. And no matter what we do, we feel it's not good enough. And we're really obsessed with getting things right so we can gain the validations from our partner, from people around us at work. And it leads you to always try harder, and then you don't feel good enough about things. Does that make sense, ladies? I have a question right there. So yes, if the other person is not in the mood or doesn't have the patience to understand and go down, we have to choose the right time to speak about our feelings. Sometimes, if someone is making a comment that you don't like, it can be about questioning that person and them say this. I don't appreciate you saying this. It's about them. Rather than holding into things for so long, question what people are trying to tell you, understand it, use the I statement. You're not there to create conflict. Instead, you're there to be heard, respected, and understood. Does that make sense? And of course, we have the fear of rejection. So with us or with people pleasers, usually there's an inner child. Has anyone heard about the inner child before? Let me know in the comments. Have you heard about the inner child before? So with every people pleaser, there's an inner child inside who's hurting, who never received enough love and appreciation. And this inner child fears rejection, being alone. And what they do instead, they stay in toxic relationships because they're afraid of being alone. They may settle, they may run away. It's like running away feels so scary for them. So they decide to settle in friendships, relationships, because they fear abandonment. Who fears abandonment here? Let me know in the comments. It's like, you're reliving your childhood experiences, you're reliving your traumatic events, or how even your toxic relationships, you could be reliving them, right? So you avoid rejection because you see rejection as being abandoned. What's scaring you about abandonment? I can see some yeses and I can see someone said me. What scares you about abandonment? Let me know in the comments. Why do you see rejection as abandonment? As we heal, we need to notice rejection is a redirection. Does it make sense? Let me know in the comments. Can you see how this can affect you Can you see how people-pleasing behaviors can affect you? It can damage the relationships you have. It can always make you feel on edge and triggered. Can you see that, ladies? Can you understand why it's a traumatic response? Let me know in the comments. Because now it's time to talk about how can you heal from people-pleasing traumas. Who's ready to learn more? Leave some comments below. Correct. You always think, what did I do wrong? Why am I not good enough? You always internalize it and think there's something wrong with you. That's exactly correct. But who's ready to heal right now? If you're ready to heal, leave some comments below. Say, I'm ready to heal my people-pleasing behaviors. Let's get started. So the first step is to accept and connect with your inner child. That little girl who's holding all your traumas, all the resentments, all the fears, that's waiting for you to connect with her. You need to accept that your inner child exists. The girl who struggled with pleasing her parents, the girl who struggled in high school, the girl who struggled in relationships, she's still with you. And she exists in your subconscious mind. The first step is to accept that your inner child exists. The first step in any healing process is acceptance. You can't get where you want to be until you know where you're at. This goes for your healing your inner child. You first need to acknowledge that your inner child exists. And you need to be able to acknowledge all of the suffering. You know, it wasn't her fault that maybe her parents showed love, then they were abusive. It wasn't her fault. She's been struggling and holding all this trauma. That's how we empower ourselves to move into the likely you're operating from past memories. You're not present in the here and now. You're reliving your childhood experiences or your experiences as a teenager. And the first step is to acknowledge and to connect and to accept your inner child. And that's how we empower ourselves to step into reality and out of the painful delusions that we've been living in. We need to accept that we have an inner child. You need to accept your inner child for who they are. And you need to and let them come out in the sunshine for the first time. Accept that your inner child exists. Stop running away from them. Stop ignoring them. Stop feeling ashamed of them. Every single one of us that's hurting or confused from their parents' behaviors, from others expecting them to do much. That you have an inner child who doesn't feel worthy, and it's affecting you, affecting your relationships. But at the same time, this girl needs you more than anyone. If you want to find peace, you have to first acknowledge them and all the pain they have been through. Admitting something is broken doesn't make it less worthy. It makes it more powerful. Once you accept that your inner child exists, you can acknowledge their experiences, find lessons, and make it safe for them to come out and communicate with you. Our inner child is in a state of fear. That's why we people please. Emotionally, the trauma we experience as children don't let us connect with our inner child. Make it safe for your inner child to come out. You need to comfort them and accept them on a personal level. Let your inner child have their emotions. When you feel pain, Take a step back and sit with your pain. Instead of doing something for others, sit with your pain. Let them know all about the memories and the bad things, that happened, and acknowledge that it wasn't your fault. So you stop thinking there's something wrong with you. That's why you think something is wrong with you. And it's your fault always. We need to connect, reparent this inner child, connect with them, teach them about love, teach them about relationships. Give that validation to them rather to some outside of your being. Does it make sense, ladies? Let me know. Who is ready to connect with their inner child? The first step, you need to acknowledge you have an inner child. Who's ready to acknowledge that they have an inner child? I hope you're taking notes, because this is how you heal your people-pleasing behavior. And step 2 is to start validation techniques. Has anyone heard about self-validation techniques or self-validation techniques before? Let me know in the comments if you have heard about self-validation techniques. Validation is a technique that focuses on accepting the emotions you're experiencing. If you have trouble regulating your emotions or controlling your emotions, then, or understanding your emotions, then you probably have a hard time accepting them in the place as well. You feel angry, sad about something that happened around you, you immediately tell yourself, I shouldn't feel that way, I should know better. So on top of your primary emotions, which you already feel sad, and then you tell yourself, I shouldn't feel that way, you build up other negative secondary emotions as a response. And that's when you neglect yourself, and that's when you people please, and that's when you settle in friendships and relationships. Does it make sense how, if we don't know how to regulate our emotions, we can move into what I call, having not just your primary emotions, but also secondary emotions. And usually it does involve a few steps to validate yourself. And I would recommend working with a therapist to learn more about this technique, because you need to first connect with your inner child. Second thing you need to do is work on having self-validation techniques. One of the ways, of course, there's other ways that you need to work on to be fully aware and able to use these techniques. But one of the ways is to question yourself. Am I seeking validations? Yes, if you are. Then the second step, do I need to seek validations from that person? Then you give back to yourself until it becomes a new habit. You validate yourself. Instead of giving to others, give back to yourself. Let's say you want to give that new guy or your partner a gift just because they were annoyed with you, or maybe you just because you want to gain their validations and love. Instead of that, give back to yourself. Buy a gift to yourself. Does that make sense, ladies? Of course, there's other layers to this techniques, but this is one technique you can use today. And of course, step 3, we need to work on setting healthy boundaries. So let people know what you are, who you are, what you're comfortable with, what you will tolerate, and you will accept and not accept. Identify your priorities and what type of people you want in your life. Base it on your own needs and wants. Communicate your needs and boundaries with people while understanding some relationships might change and some might end, because people will not like it when you have boundaries, because it means you're healing and you're not operating from trauma or past memories or people-pleasing traumas. Instead, you're connecting to the here and now. You're doing what's best for you. So they find it as a threat and they don't like it, and that's fine. Set limits to avoid overcommitting and overcommitments and being available. Let people know that you have your own commitments and responsibilities. Let's say you organize a date with yourself and someone would message you and say, hey, you want to go out tonight? No, I already have a plan in place. I can't come tonight. Maybe we can go another date. Start setting healthy boundaries. It's about what you need based on your own needs and wants, what you're comfortable with, what you will tolerate and not tolerate. Feel free to write some of this down, ladies. And one of the most useful techniques when it comes to setting boundaries, it's about having a prepared script. One of the places where people get stuck frequently is not knowing what to say when they want to say no, or they're afraid of hurting someone's feeling. Effective strategy is preparing a statement ahead of time. It can be, thank you so much for asking, but I'll be unable to make that. Another example, oh, I wish I could, but I'm already committed. Even if that commitment is to yourself. Maybe you said you're gonna write a project, or you're overdue for an exercise, or you want to watch, or take your child to a movie, or maybe you want to connect with your inner child and you already have something planned. Or even if you don't, just, it's usually about asking yourself, what do I need to do before I go out with this friend? Or maybe today it's about me connecting with my inner child. So I'm going to let them know I wouldn't be able to do it. Already committed. Another way it can be, you know how much I love helping, however, I'm not available today. Another example, it can be, it sounds like a lot of fun. My time is already scheduled way too full. Thank you for understanding. Another example is, I feel honored you asked me, but yet, commitment I can make right now. How do you feel about establishing boundaries, ladies? Establish a boundary right now. Think about your own needs and wants. Let's work together. Let's establish a boundary right now. And I want you to write it down. It can be a statement that you want to use. It can be a boundary that you want to set for yourself and others. Write it down, ladies. Let's go. Let's go. It can be anything. Write a boundary that based on your own needs and wants today. Let's break the people-pleasing trauma together. Let's do it, ladies. We can. We absolutely can. Let's do it. Who is ready to write a boundary? It can be, I'll make more time for myself. I will not, tolerate respect. I'm going to give back to my. Come on, let's do it, ladies. I know you can. I'll wait for the boundaries, but here's another step that you can do. Also, it's about giving yourself extra time before agreeing to do something, a favor or a request. By waiting 5 minutes, an hour, or a day before agreeing to something, you will increase your ability to know. When we actually alone, it's easier to be honest with ourselves and what we need. Feel free to write this quote down. I usually use it. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. In our response and our freedom, choose you. Feel free to write this down. How are we all doing with the boundaries? Who is ready to establish a boundary? Let me know. If you can't establish a boundary right now, that's completely fine. Also, let me know in the comments. And of course, there's another step that you can use to break the people-pleasing traumas. It's learning to have assertive communication. People pleasers often have difficulty communicating with an assertive tone or being assertive. They're usually afraid of conflict or hurting others' feelings. However, assertive communication is not about being assertive or rude. It's about communicating your needs and wants in an honest, correct, and respectful way. Always show respect, even if you disagree with the person. Use the I statements, communicate your boundaries in a clear way. Stop over-explaining yourself because it's actually a traumatic response. Does it make sense, ladies? How are we all doing? We have discovered some of your unresolved traumas, people-pleasing behaviors, codependency wounds, and how it can affect your relationships. How do you feel so far? And what have you learned so far? Let me know. How do you feel so far, and what was something you learned so far? Let me know in the comments. Because here's the thing, ladies. We can't cover everything in about an hour and a half. Two options. Option one, you can keep doing what you have been doing and run into the risk of settling in relationships, destroying your relationships, not knowing how to deal with your emotions, triggers, seeking validations, and not having without a professional support. Or you have option two, and it's about joining normal or trauma program to heal your inner child, codependency, trauma, and to be happy and complete in your relationships, friendships, and career. You have two options. You can easily run into the risk of settling, not knowing yourself, running into the people-pleasing behaviors, ruining all the relationships, always being on edge, not standing up for yourself, not knowing your worth without professional support. Or you can join no more people-pleasing behaviors to heal your inner child, codependency traumas, be happy and complete in your friendships and relationships. Who wants to hear more about this amazing formula or program? Let me know in the comments. As you can see, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to heal from. It's not just childhood trauma. It's survival mode, reliving, trapped traumas, communication, boundaries. There's a lot to learn. Who is to hear more about this amazing program? Let me know in the comments. Are you ready to heal hidden traumas, triggers, and ones that's keeping you stuck? Because for the first time ever, I'm going to be introducing no more people-pleasing traumas book. No more people-pleasing. That's it. We're going to break this cycle. This course is for you if you feel sad, overwhelmed, but yet determined to let go of feeling unworthy, codependency, anxious, and lonely. It's finally to move beyond hurting your inner child and always being on edge, being in fulfilled, not being in, completely happy in your careers, feeling held back in life, feeling lost in life. It's finally time to move beyond that. It's finally time for you to feel emotionally balanced, confident in setting healthy boundaries, and attracting everything you desire. You're worthy of this. And this is how it's going to work, ladies. We will work together for 3 months. You will have 4 private sessions. It's not the normal sessions you have with your therapist. sessions usually go up to an hour and a half. You will have 2 group sessions. You will have training modules and worksheets. Training modules, you can listen to them and you will always have them. And worksheets. You will have access to messaging support between the sessions, so you're not alone. This is not something that you do with, a normal therapist. This is beyond therapy. This is beyond coaching. This is everything you need. Enough settling, enough with people-pleasing behaviors. Come and join No More People-Pleasing Trauma program. It's your time to heal. You're worthy of this investment. You invest in others around you. Now it's your time to invest in yourself. Stop wasting years in therapy because it doesn't get you. Doing this program, you're not just going to heal trauma. You're going to heal every single part of yourself to feel complete, to feel worthy, to feel confident, to shine with standards and never settle. This is what we will be covering. So theme 1, heal the emotional codependency wounds and the wounded inner child. And when we talk about the wounded inner child, it's time to let go of anything that's holding you back, loneliness, and feel secure and deeply connected. And theme number 2 is about feeling secure and learning to validate yourself. We're going to talk about how to validate yourself and having a secure attachment style. It's time to let go of your anxiety and the drive to chase love or people, accepting less. And it's time to feel calm, confident, secure, calling everything you desire into your life because you're worthy of it. And of course, theme number 3, it's about letting go of feeling not good enough and the need to prove yourself. Finally, feel solid within yourself, knowing you are enough. You've always been enough. You will always be enough. You always have been enough. It's about knowing that you're worthy. It's about connecting to your worth, ladies. And theme number 4 is about boundaries, letting go of the blocks that are keeping you stuck from, establishing boundaries. It's about knowing exactly how to communicate your boundaries and letting go of people-pleasing behaviors. Also, theme 5, it's about learning to be assertive in your communication and go of the blocks of accepting less, or the trauma of accepting less, and learning to stand up for yourself. How does that sound, ladies? Let me know in the comments. How do you feel so far? How does it sound? I do have a solution to all of this: the wounded inner child, codependency, people-pleasing traumas, abandonment wounds. There's so much you can do by enrolling into this course, because the doors are officially open today, and I want to be there to hold your hand. I honestly mean it. Like, a lot of therapists out there will sit there and just say, here you talk and then you leave the session and you don't have skills and tools. With me, it's not just you're going to gain skills and tools. You're going to gain the support that you need. I want to be there to support you and hold your hand throughout your healing journey. You deserve to have support throughout this healing journey. Just imagine in a few weeks, you feel confident in yourself. Just imagine feeling worthy and enough from within. Just imagine weeks you have boundaries and not having the desire to please anyone, and feeling comfortable and confident in your own skin. Just imagine being in the best relationship of your life. Join today and save, because for the next 48 hours, if you join, you will save $100. And you're invited to join this amazing deal because you have modules, you have sessions, you have group sessions, you have daily support, you have worksheets. So it's everything you need in one program. And you're invited, and the early bird discount will last for the next 2 days. The investment is $12.99, or you can do 4 easy installments of $377 a month if you struggle with finances, or it's about starting your healing process by joining this program, because this is how you start claiming your worth. You invest in others around you. It's time to invest in yourself. It's time to make this about you finally and for once. This is about you. This is an investment in you. That you're not joining my program. This is you investing in yourself. Here's some of the reviews that were posted through messages and even in my Facebook groups. So when Ragat started working with me, she didn't have any self-confidence. She used to please people around her. And by the end of the course, she is full of self-confidence, full of self-esteem. She's not just healing, but she's become the best version of herself, and you can become the best version of yourself like Ragat. And when she started working with me, she was lost. She had everything, everyone think, but then deep down, she was a people pleaser. She was struggling with childhood traumas, a wounded inner child. And when we started working together, she gained her self-worth and self-esteem, and she learned how to never settle for less. And you can do the same, ladies. These are real messages and real comments and real clients, and you can do the same, ladies. And even with Lisa, she even discovered part of herself that needed even aware of that. And you can do the same once you enroll into this program, ladies. And my client, Angela, she left a toxic relationship because she was operating from trauma and reliving her childhood trauma and people pleasing and trying to save this relationship. Once we started working together, she knew exactly what she deserved, and she left a toxic relationship, and now she's happily married. And this is about different areas in your life. It's not just about relationships, friendships, career, your relationship with yourself, which is the most important relationship of your life. How we all feel so far, and do you have any questions? And a final note from me, I really honor you taking the time to connect with me here. If you're still watching, or whether you're watching this as a replay later on, I want you to know I see you, and I want you to know it's absolutely possible for you to heal from trauma, people-pleasing trauma, and live life beyond your hidden blocks, trauma, and conditioning. I have honestly poured my heart and soul into this program, and I know I can support you. I invite you to let me guide you. Together we will heal, let go of past traumas, and you can live a life full of happiness, peace, and feeling complete within yourself. And a final reminder is the fastest way to be able to be in your dream relationship, heal yourself, and learn how to never settle and let go of people-pleasing trauma. You're worthy of this investment. Do not settle. And if you have any questions, let me know. Can't wait to support you all. And I will be accepting only for clients into this program. Once the spots are gone, I'm not going to be accepting anyone else. And I know some ladies have already messaged me about this program. So this is your chance. If you want to heal and let go of past traumas, a wounded inner child, and people-pleasing traumas, join now, because I'm not going to be running this program again. Sending you all a lot of love, and take care of yourself. Thank you all for watching.